I have came to three possible conclusions with regards to most Muslims in regards to their sources. The first conclusion is that Muslims don't actually read their sources for themselves. The second conclusion is that scholars are hiding what their sources actually say. Or the third option is that they are just blatantly lying about their sources. Now, I say this because, of course, you can see on the screen there that a Muslim made this claim in Islam: if you sin, you bear the sins basically for yourself. Which I know where he's getting this from. He's getting it from the Quran, but that's not all Islam teaches on the topic. So let's go through what the Quran says. We can see in chapter 6, verse 164, it says, "Say, is it other than Allah I should desire as Lord, while he is the Lord of all things? And every soul earns not except against itself, and no bearer of burdens will bear the burden of another. Then to your Lord is your return, and he will inform you concerning that over which you used to differ." We can look at 17:15. "Whoever is guided is only guided for his soul, and whoever errs only errs against it. And no bearer of burdens will bear the burden of another, and never would we punish until we send a messenger." Now, the point is that it's saying that nobody who has sin can bear the sin of another. Let's continue on. We look at Surah chapter 35, verse 18. "And no bearer of burdens will bear the burden of another, and if a heavily laden soul calls to its load, nothing of it will be carried, even if he should be a close relative. You can only warn those who fear their Lord unseen and have established prayer, and whoever purifies himself only purifies himself for his own soul, and to Allah is the destination." 39:7. "If you disbelieve, indeed Allah is free from need of you, and he does not approve for his servants' disbelief. And if you are grateful, he approves it for you, and no bearer of burdens will bear the burden of another. Then to your Lord is a return, and he will inform you about what you used to do. Indeed, he is the knowing of that which is within the beasts." We can also see Surah chapter 53, verse 38 says that no bearer of burdens will bear the burden of another. So it's quite clear that the Quran is saying here that no one born, who bears their own sin will be able to bear the sin of another. So let's actually see what the Hadith, or better yet, Muhammad, has to say on this topic. We can see in Sahih Muslim 2767b, Abu Bara reported on the authority of his father that Allah's apostle said, "No Muslim would die, but Allah would admit in his stead a Jew or a Christian in hellfire." Umar bin Abd al-Zari took an oath by one who besides whom there is no God but he, thrice, that his father had narrated that to him from Allah's messenger. So it's saying here that God will place in the hellfire for Muslims a Jew or a Christian, so that Jew or Christian will bear the sin of the Muslim and be placed into hell for the Muslim. Let's continue on. We can see in Sahih Muslim 2767d, it says, Abu Bara reported Allah's messenger as saying, "There would come people amongst the Muslims on the day of resurrection with as heavy sins as a mountain, and Allah would forgive them, and he would place in their stead the Jews and the Christians." So it's quite clear that, once again, the Muslims will get out of hellfire because the Jews and Christians will be at ransom for the Muslims. So for the Muslims to claim, once again, that they pay for their own sins, that it shows me they actually have not read their sources. So once again, the Muslims are looking foolish because they don't actually engage with their own sources. They believe only what their scholars tell them, and they don't actually have the time, or they don't want to make the time to actually go investigate what the claim that is being made, if there's actually any basis in the actual teachings of Islam. But no, they're going to blindly follow whatever their leaders tell them, whenever they could just as easily go and research it for themselves. But no, the Jews, Christians, and non-Muslims has to go and actually teach Islam to the Muslims, because they don't actually want to take the time to understand their religion. But whenever they understand their religion, they will understand that Jews and Christians are actually their saviors, and they really should thank the Jews and Christians for the great service that their God is going to make the Jews and Christians do on the day of resurrection.